according to the Daily Mail, CNN, quote, will axe top stars in layoffs that will see hundreds fired as ratings continue to tank. Now, not everyone knows this, but my personal license plate here in the state of Arizona is CNN Sucks. I've had that since 2019, so nobody will be more excited than me for that to come to pass. And I don't think it's terribly surprising. CNN used to be they had this position maybe 20 years ago as they were the centrist American media outlet. So if you weren't, Republicans would watch Fox News. MSNBC wasn't super liberal yet, but, by the Obama years, they were going that way. And then CNN was left-leaning a bit, but in the middle. But even more so than MSNBC, they really went Trump deranged. I used to work at Fox. We would have CNN on because we would have the other networks on. And they always had the most deranged, the most demented chyrons, those text displays at the bottom. It would just be like, Trump refuses to admit lies, and wild things like that. They went all in on being the resistance channel, the anti-Trump channel. They went frenzied about it, and they've been that way for a decade. And what do you have at this point? They're kind of totally reliant on Trump, yet also Trump is winning. They have no distinct brand other than that. And you just see a lot of people stepping away from them and stepping away from the media generally. Another story that we commented on the other day that went viral, Chris Wallace, formerly of Fox, now it's CNN, he is reportedly stepping away to try to, at 77, start some sort of new independent media outlet. Everyone is stepping away from the legacy news media. They're creating Substacks, they're creating podcasts, they're creating other independent media ventures. And increasingly, people don't need the media to be mediated through, through the like a handful of TV networks that have this huge power to censor and dictate what they see. We can see that with Tucker Carlson, of course. He lost his show, stepped away, created his own thing. He's certainly as popular as ever. He's making as much money as ever, and remains to be seen, but he may be able to have just as much impact as ever. And that's going to be, I think, the biggest story of the 2024 election. And that's clearly what even the mainstream media is taking away from it. They're seeing it as this is the election where the alternative media stopped being alternative. That Joe Rogan, Charlie Kirk, Daily Wire, Substack, these sorts of outlets are strong enough and can reach enough people to reshape the zeitgeist, to shape who actually wins a presidential election. You don't need to pander to a host who's on the evening news, who's on CNN, or even who's on Fox News in order to reach the audience you need to win a presidential election. And one of the few things they had holding in reserve was they could at least maybe limit the financial success of these a little bit because they haven't had the same access to mainstream advertising dollars. And what I think will be very interesting is if we can see the shift towards, a capitulation on this front. If we see these advertising blockades and advertising boycotts go away. If you start seeing Toyota or Ford or, Budweiser for that matter, start advertising on Joe Rogan, on the Daily Wire, on mainstream but alternative media outlets like this, it's all over for the legacy media. They lose their last asset. All right, the team is telling me to play 361, so let's play that right now.
There are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys. They're not boys. They're not playing girls' softball. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that.
Let's reset for a second. Let's try to talk about this in a way that is respectful.
Okay, so let me rephrase this since I'm being targeted here.
Regular people interpret it. That's not regular people. That's not regular people. There's no consensus that these are actually boys. This whole thing about trans girls is a canard. We're talking about a tiny, tiny sliver of the population.
That may be the
and
case,
we're using that
my point in terms of its effectiveness.
Thousands of people.
It's pretty funny stuff. It really captures several different things about why the media has gone into decline. First of all, it's this gigantic panel. You get these bigger and bigger panels on the major cable channels. So if you want to have any sort of in-depth discussion on anything, you increasingly need to go to an alternative outlet. One of the things that stands out about Rogan doesn't need an 8-person panel to talk about things. He'll have on RFK, or he'll have on Donald Trump. He'll have on Donald Trump and talk to him for 3 hours.
Hello.
Who else is able to do that? That's the strength of the new media.